في رياض تجويد
You're listening to Evil Sugar Radio.
The art and science of health, wellness, and ice cream. The show is rated R.
Hey, welcome back to Evil Sugar Radio. This is show number 91. We've got Josh and Jeannie Rubin from East West Healing, and they are health and wellness consultants focusing on nutrition and thyroid health. They're from San Diego. I've known Josh for a few years. We used to be involved in the fitness industry. So, hey, welcome to the show, Josh and Jeannie Rubin. Welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying your harsh winter out there in San Diego.
Yeah, it's going to be a low of 60 today.
We're getting through it.
My wife's freezing. She's got Uggs on.
We don't.
Yeah, she does.
People make fun of Uggs, but I'm telling you, when the wintertime comes, I like soft. I like
60 degrees.
Yeah, well, today our high is going to be 60 degrees here in New York, so, I don't have any sympathy. But let me tell you, 60 is actually quite beautiful. And out there, it's nice. Like, you can still wear, like, what are you wearing today? A hoodie or a, long sleeve t-shirt or something?
Yeah, and shorts. Yeah, Jeannie's got a snowsuit on.
No, I don't.
Yeah, well, you guys have
She's a pure San Diegan.
I am straight up San Diego.
So Josh and Jeannie, y'all have, you have a couple ebooks out. Tell us what you do, what you have online here.
Of course we do nutrition consulting with clients all over the globe. We have most of our clients are actually outside of California or even the U.S. We have 2 online educational programs, kind of like do it yourself. You sign up for the program, download everything, and do it on your own. One's more scientific, really deep in physiology. It's called the Metabolic Blueprint. The other one's called Fight Fatigue with Food. It's much more surfacey, and it's the kind of the application of our philosophy, more for like the average person. We have ebooks. We have the Metabolic Blueprint Cookbook ebook. This is all on our website as well. And then we have 2 books on Amazon, the Female Body Blueprint and the Saturated Fact.
The Saturated Fact.
Oh, what's that about?
That's cool. So what is that about? Is that just like it's okay to eat red meat and you're not going to die?
Yeah, pretty much. It's okay to eat saturated fat, and it's okay to eat red meat. You're not going to die. And ignore that whole stupid media push about fruit.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then what's the Female Body Blueprint?
It's all about, the reproductive system, hormones, hormone balancing, blood sugar regulation. It's just really kind of breaking it down to familiarize women more with their bodies.
I mean, they're great intros. They're books. They're great intro books. They're not meant for like, anatomy and physiology students. They're for that stay-at-home mom that's like, I don't feel good. Oh, I'm wondering about my, hormonal system. And it's a great, kind of stepping stone for them to become more aware of what's going on with their body.
And I think everything we're really trying to do is connect the dots and how, the system is so interrelated and it's not just working with one thing or another. Yeah. It's how they connect.
Yeah.
Cool. And then your YouTube channel, it seems that's pretty popular, right? Like you have a lot of followers. Is it a big part of your business here, the YouTube?
Yeah, we try to do a YouTube. I was doing a YouTube like every week for the longest time, but it kind of got burnt out after a while.
It's a lot of work.
It is. Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. I don't do the whole production thing. I kind of go, I want to do YouTube on this, and I just sit down and do it. But I just kind of ran out of ideas, and we kind of like rebranded ourselves to kind of simplify things. So trying to do it every 2 weeks, which has been good. And yeah, we have a lot of followers. I don't know what we have, 12, 13,000 or something like that. And, there's a lot of interaction. And, our goal with YouTube is really just not to give people the answer because we believe everything is so individualized. We do the YouTube because we want to share with people what we learn, so they can become more aware and not just, and it was interesting because you said we're here to talk about Facebook and, maybe we'll talk about that today, but in this industry, we feel there's so much confusion because of the web.
Yeah.
And a lot of people read something and they go, oh, well, because this article says sitting down causes insulin resistance, then I need to start standing more. So it just creates this unhealthy journey. So we're just trying to make people more aware, share what we've learned, and say, you know what? We're just like you. We're just sharing our information now. We don't want to call ourselves gurus. We're not saying our word is bond. We just want to share stuff, and you can do whatever you want with it.
On your YouTube channel, what is kind of your most popular video or topic? What do people really want to know?
I'm looking at it right now. I think
they want to know how to.
Yeah, a lot of the ones that say like how to, like the most watched is like how to stretch the psoas. It's like, 300,000 views. But from that, it's like how to make eggshell calcium. The benefits of Epsom salt baths. Like, how to treat a prostate enlargement, or, what is gastritis, and like those are usually the most popular because people want to learn how to, and of course our benefit to bone broth and things like that are the most popular as well.
So what has been your most, what have you found to be the biggest misconception, or the biggest, freak out? Like, do you have a video that people like completely flipped out and they didn't understand what you said? Or is there a particular topic that people don't understand?
I don't think there's been a necessary, something that people flipped out about, but I think the bigger thing, what?
I think every single person, and this literally, I believe, was created because I would say, let's say 7 to 8 years ago, when everyone started doing labs and playing doctor, every single person that has a gut issue thinks they have a parasite or H. pylori. And we have an H. pylori video, and it's almost like I want to delete it, but it gets so many views and gives us so much traffic. I can't, but we get so many comments on it, and I feel like, we can talk other misconceptions, but like, I think everyone that has a GI issue thinks they have H. pylori or parasite. We've worked with people with H. pylori and taken them, this is years ago, taken them through supplement protocols, and they've done antibiotics, and they still have H. pylori. Or they do the protocols, they feel so much better, and they retest, and they have H. pylori. Or they do the protocol, and they still feel like crap, and they do the test, and they don't have H. pylori. And we stopped doing all that because it didn't really give any positive feedback to people, whether they had it or not, and they felt better or didn't. So, it is rampant, and I feel like people just need to get back to life, and they feel like we live in this third world country where we have, tapeworm and all these parasites. And there's so many non-pathogenic parasites that you're going to have. It's very common. Your body's just going to get rid of them, but everyone thinks they need to do these protocols, or because they have, bloating that they have a parasite, or because they have ADHD that they have a bacterial infection. It's just like, talk about doing from 0 to 100. It's just crazy.
The amount of stuff that people will detox for is outlandish. So I was reading an article last night, completely unrelated, but it was about cytomegalovirus, which infects blood. And for most people, it's not a problem. But like 80% of people have it. And I thought, wait till the alternative health industry gets a hold of that 80% of people have this virus that does nothing to most people. But they're going to be doing CMV detoxes and all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see it all the time.
But within more our realm, I'd say, the huge misconception nowadays, and we're not doctors, we're not playing doctor, but we work with so many people that are self-diagnosing themselves and medicating themselves, which we don't agree with. And I know there's a huge push for this on the web because certain people recommend it, but I have hypothyroidism. That's the biggest misconception. Everyone's got hypothyroidism. It's absolutely crazy. It's an epidemic right now. We need to call the CDC and do something about this because everyone has hypothyroidism.
Even trained physicians are encouraged not to self-diagnose because self-diagnosis is more often wrong than it is right.
Right. Like I always say to clients, you're tired? Well, look up,
Welcome to living.
50 diseases. You could probably tag that symptom with like over 100 disorders and diseases. Like, it's just crazy. So from our standpoint, most people, are leading a life that may lead to hypothyroidism later on in life, but they just have chronic blood sugar handling issues. That's all adrenal fatigue is. That's all they're feeling. Mm-hmm. So we think, and it's easily proven if you study the work of Rhoda Barnes and you use temperature and pulse, that most people don't have hypothyroidism. They convince themselves they do because they're tired, or, their hair might be falling out, or, they're gaining weight, whatever it may be. But they really have chronic blood sugar handling issues. They don't have hypothyroidism. And then they start buying medications online and taking medications, which is even worse, because that's like putting nitrous in a car with a shitty engine and hitting the nitrous button. You can't support that. The engine's going to blow up. And that's what people are doing. We've seen so many people, at least from our experience, the people that we work with and talk to, that are really doing so much damage by going that route.
So let's talk about two things. Number one, so a lot of people believe they're hypothyroid. This is probably due to a few reasons, right? There's probably a few factors that, create this environment where people are, self-diagnosing or coming up with hypothyroid. One is like we said before, there's so much confusion and conflicting information out there. Anybody who's not well goes online, they're going to find out that they've got a bunch of diseases. That's one problem. Then the other thing is some people are not well. You said a lot of people are tired. This has been my experience as well. People who, claim to have adrenal fatigue or whatever, whether they have it or not, or whether that issue is real or not, a lot of these people are not feeling well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is at the core of a lot of these people not feeling well? Is it just that they're tired because they don't sleep enough? Is there other things going on?
I think it's the Illuminati.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, especially because we all use dollar bills on a daily basis.
I'm just kidding.
And every time you touch a dollar bill, you're getting the Illuminati is peeking into your personal life. So what do you think is the thing with hypothyroid? Like, what do you suppose is going on with these people who are diagnosed as or self-diagnosed or otherwise incorrectly diagnosed as adrenal fatigue or hypothyroid or metabolic damage or whatever?
It's simple. The energy that they're expending is more than the energy that they're actually building up or taking in.
Their foundations are unstable.
They're in a deficit. And this builds up over time. It could start in childhood. It could start in your teens, and everyone's got a different, makeup based on what their parents gave them or grandparents gave them. But it's the energy they're expending is more than the energy that they're taking in. This is going on for a long period of time. And the body.
Are you just talking in terms of caloric deficit or, like when you say the energy, okay, so long-term caloric deficit, long-term vitamin mineral deficiencies.
Yeah, but even long-term, we talk about how nutrition is one piece to the healing puzzle. Like, Tonio and Jeannie were talking about meditation. For some people, meditation is a piece to the healing puzzle and it really helps them recharge emotionally to build up that energy bank account. So it's different for everyone, but if you're constantly going, which is our society, and you never take the time to meet the demands of what you're expending, whether it's with counseling, whether it's with taking a walk in nature, we always ask clients, what are your hobbies? And they go, blah, 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 da, 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 da. They list 20 hobbies and I'll say, well, do you do any of them? Oh, I haven't done them in 10 years.
not really a hobby.
Yeah, so for us, it's almost like health is getting closer to self, and so many people are unhealthy because they're so far from self. So for us, it's helping them discover, beside nutrition,
through nutrition, we're help in the way that we're working with people, we're really allowing them to come back into relationship with who they are and come, just connect with their story and how have they gotten to where they are today? Because there's so many parts and pieces, but everybody just wants to focus in on their food and not look at the rest of it. So as we can begin to build that foundation and resource them, quiet the body down, now they're more resourced to be able to look at those other parts and pieces and recreate and really begin to create health in their life and based on what that looks like and pull them out of that anxiety-driven mode of trying to fix what's wrong, this wrong. Why don't we begin to honor our differences and our individuality and learn how to support that in a new way, And that's part of the goal, but I think there's so many possibilities when it comes to people.
Of course we do nutrition with people, so we really believe it's a huge part of a person's foundation. It's a really strong part. food,
It's the
water,
foundation.
air, and shelter. I mean, like, we need that. But a lot of people think just because they eat healthy that they're going to feel better. If it was that easy, they wouldn't be working with us or feel the way they feel, you know? So you got to look at that. There's a lot more out there for people. I mean, there's a lot of people we work with that are not in happy relationships. And not to say we're counselors, but as they start to feel better, they start to see these things and they're more empowered to maybe communicate more, or they realize they don't like their job. Or like I have a client that's like, you know what? And she's getting happier and happier. She worked with me for high blood pressure, and she started going for walks and it really helped. And she's like, you know, I've always wanted a dog for like 20 years. I just never got one. And long story short, she got one. It's literally like completely changed her life, you know, and something that simple, you know, so it's like doing the nutrition really filled that bank account and got her to a place where she wanted to start, you know, discovering other parts of her healing puzzle. And for her, it was getting a dog and having that companionship, you know, so for us, it's about, you know, having people fill that bank account so they can actually meet the demands they're placing in the body. Because we live in a stressful world. You can't eliminate stress, but if we can adapt to it and modulate it, then we're not going to get adrenal fatigue or diagnose ourselves with high.
So let me ask you a question. When someone comes to you and they've self-diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, systemic Candida, any of these other alternative diagnoses that don't, by all scientific evidence, don't really exist, how do you walk that road of, no, you really don't have this thing because this thing isn't a real diagnosis. You are not feeling well, though, so let's figure out. Because a lot of people, that's like attacking their identity when you tell them, no, you don't actually have this thing because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, and Jeannie will touch upon this more. I just want to say one thing. We never tell people what they don't have. Our goal, because we feel like a lot of people come to us and they've been told it's all in their head. And a lot of people say that to us. Our goal is to educate people.
And we're really looking at, you know, I always tell people that this is not a process of us telling you, you know, to do X, Y, and Z and your life is going to change and you're going to get healthy and so on and so forth. It's really looking at what your body is showing us. How is your physiology expressing itself and what do we need to understand about that so we can begin to meet it where it is and give it the support that it needs. So, you know, we're not treating symptoms. We're not treating diagnoses. We're treating people, working with people to help them, again, understand why they're experiencing these things in their bodies. How does Candida relate to low metabolic health or low thyroid function? You know, and what is that? How does that all interconnect? So that's what we're doing is we're educating them on that. And again, everything we're doing is in support of restoring how the body is communicating with itself through using food.
And it depends on the person because, you know, most people come to us, they're weak, they're chaotic. So our philosophy is we're not going to treat chaos with chaos. We go slow.
We have to go slow.
You know, it's kind of an osteopathic principle. You know, you don't, if someone's body is in chaos or in a sympathetic state, you don't do a sympathetic technique. It's simple. You do the exact opposite, you know? So it depends on the person, but you know, I have a Candida. I want to educate my clients and talk to them about maybe what's led them to this point to believe this and talk to them about immune system suppression and correlate with blood sugar handling issues so they can understand why they think they have a Candida overgrowth, but how we all actually have Candida and how Candida feeds on sugar. That's how it actually thrives, just like humans do. So I explain to them and educate them. Same thing with hypothyroidism. Talk to them about, you know, adrenal fatigue. The body needs fuel to burn fuel. The adrenals regulate the availability of fuel, right? Glucocorticoids. And the thyroid regulates the burning of the fuel. So if you don't have fuel, you can't burn fuel. And if you don't have fuel coming in, what happens? In a simple sense, the adrenals are going to go work overtime. What's going to happen? I'm going to have high cortisol levels, stage 1, et cetera, et cetera. So I explain it to them. Some people hear it. Some people don't, but our goal is just to educate our clients and not say, you know, it's just in your head, because most come to us because their doctors or whoever have told them that.
Yeah, I had this similar experience. I had GI issues when I was younger, and everybody that I spoke to or saw, whether it was the hospital or doctors, they all completely dismissed me. It wasn't that they didn't even offer any sort of answer or solution or even offer some direction to go in. They just completely dismissed me as I was making it up, and I wasn't. So I think that's an important point, is not being a dick to people that are not feeling well.
Absolutely.
And I think that the scientific community is especially the whole like evidence-based community, like they're just horrible at communication, and whether they have the right answers or good answers or not, it's just not an effective way to communicate with people, especially if people are not well.
And I think there's a second point. Another point is sometimes things are all in people's head, but that doesn't mean that they're not actually suffering from real symptoms. And mental health is obviously as real as physical health, so it could be quote unquote all in their head, but that doesn't mean that there's not something that needs to be done.
Right.
Exactly.
Or
even just acknowledged.
Yeah.
People who apparently have Candida, my experience is it's very similar with adrenal fatigue or metabolic damage. What do you suppose is going on? Is it the same thing that you just said? Like they're just chronically under eating, even if they're eating like, healthy food or whatever. Do you think that's one of the key issues for all of these like alternative ideas? I mean, are there people with hypothyroid or people with thyroid real health issues?
Yeah, I think people can have hypothyroidism. I think people can have a Candida overgrowth, but my point is, you don't need supplements to heal a Candida overgrowth. You don't need supplements to heal adrenal fatigue. You need medication to treat true hypothyroidism, but what most people have is, hyper or hypoinsulinemia. They don't need supplements to fix it. I can say this because we've done this with people. We used to go the other route. We used to use the pregnenolone. We used to use the supplements, the Candida stuff, but now we use food. And we're actually helping people, embrace life and get back to eating food like real people do and heal their body at the same time.
Doing those things almost created more interference.
Yeah.
With the ability to heal,
Yeah, I agree. And it also creates a whole mindset around
Absolutely.
like having a broken body or something, like broken metabolism psychology or whatever. And then that sort of just feeds into itself. So
we're not saying that, we agree Candida can cause gut problems and adrenal fatigue can cause fatigue and all this. We're not saying it can't, but we're saying is we don't agree with the approaches that are being used, the supplement-based, I want to play doctor approaches. We don't agree with that.
Okay, but you can make a shitload of money, though, if you do the whole functional medicine thing.
Right, and of course, we struggle with that with our business sometimes because there's a part of us that knows with certain things we're doing, if we went a certain route, of course we can make maybe way more money. But with what we're doing, there's certain things we say no to because we want to really stay true to who we are, which is teaching people how to use food as their supplement to heal their physiology.
Okay, so cool. So let's talk about food. So what is your basic premise when it comes to food? What is your take on macros, which is an annoying trend right now? Tell us, what is your basic premise with food? How do you differ from other people out there?
To somewhat simplify it, we believe that, if you study human physiology and how it functions, which we have, you really understand what the body needs. A lot of people study the body from a dysfunctional standpoint, right? And that's why they get so ingrained to believe you need supplements to fix Candida, to fix adrenal fatigue, to fix hypothyroidism, etc. But if you understand how the body works, when something's not working, you understand what's not there or what the body isn't getting to actually fix it. So from our standpoint, of course, the body needs proteins, carbs, and fats for different things: energy, repair, regeneration, steroidal hormone production, fight inflammation, whatever it may be. But we believe it comes down to the certain types, carbohydrates. We believe that if you look at the human body and what it can actually break down, just because a food is a food doesn't mean you should eat it. Now, we're not saying you should never eat it, but we're just saying it's about balance. So we believe that the body needs tropical fruits and roots because of their sugar content and what they can do for thyroid hormone production, which is basically, energy production in the body and the cells dependent on. in your skin, your tissue, your cells, everything is cells. You're basically a conglomeration of cells and the conductors of all the systems. So we're not huge fans of overeating vegetables and leafy greens because if you look at them, they're mostly water, cellulose, and small amounts of unsaturated fats, but their carbohydrate content is next to nil. And you can't regulate blood sugar without sugar. It's impossible. So we're more leaning towards the tropical fruits, ripe tropical fruits, and the root vegetables. That's, in a simple sense, what we lean towards carbohydrate-wise, because we need that to produce energy, which, like as I mentioned, the body uses thyroid hormone and sugar to do.
So in summary, we don't need to eat vegetables.
You're totally against vegetables now?
You hate salad. Is that what you're saying?
You just said that kale is terrible?
And this is where it can get really confusing because there is no good, no bad, no right, no wrong. It's who are we talking about? And that's what we're looking at are some of the properties within foods and what do we need to understand? How do we bring the body back into balance so that they're not as affected by some of these other foods? So, we're looking at more metabolically stimulating foods. We can give the body back what it's been deficient in for such a long period of time. And what we're using these foods to do is shut down that inflammatory cycle. We're one step ahead of the body by using foods in a frequent manner in a balanced way that shuts that inflammatory response down. And the more we can do that, the quieter we make the body. The quieter we make the body, the more healing is going to be available because those things that shut healing down are no longer as rampant in the body. The body becomes very reactive in a low metabolic state.
It's about buffering the system. If you look at like a speedometer, on one end you have health, the other end you have disease. If people don't feel good and they're eating vegetables and they're at 50%, if they eat crappy food or something happens in their life, they're more susceptible to illness or death or disease or not feeling well. But if we buffer the system and get them closer to health, if they do something quote unquote, that's stressful, or have some vegetables, you're able to buffer that much more. So for us, it's about balance. If I work with people with severe GI issues, fungal infections, do I cut out all the leafy greens? 100%. But I'm also working with people that are taught it's healthy for them because of all the minerals that's in these vegetables, which you can get from your fruits and roots and liver and shellfish and all these different foods anyway. But, so we teach them balance and say, well, right now, if you want to use it, of course you can have your protein and some fat, but maybe you overcook the kale so it's easier to break down. You always have it with an optimal carb like some fruit or root. So now we're actually getting in that metabolic food so we can upregulate the system, so you're getting those carbohydrates. So it's really person dependent, but yeah, we're not huge advocates of overeating these leafy greens. Most people come to us with GI issues, they're overeating leafy greens. Most vegetarians have GI issues, they're eating leafy greens. Most people that come to us that have thyroid issues are overeating leafy greens. It's not enough carbohydrates in them to regulate your energy production.
Not only that, if you're coming in and you're clearly in some metabolic deficiency, we have to consider what that means to the system digestively.
Right.
When we look at those types of foods and the fact that, the body is already being challenged or compromised digestively, and these foods are not the easiest foods for the body to digest and are not upregulating energy production. Now we've got more putrefaction, more bacterial overgrowth, more of these things just being fed.
And that leads to, I have a Candida infection.
Exactly.
I have adrenal fatigue.
SIBO.
I have SIBO. I mean, God, that's just we did a YouTube on that. It's just out of control.
There's real medical SIBO, and then it seems like it's very trendy to be infected with SIBO.
Right. So we're actually, when we say advocates of sugar, we're advocates of the sugar in fruits, which is fructose and glucose. Same thing with roots, which has a way higher glucose content, so we're a little more cautious with those with people. Depends on the person we're working with, again. How much we recommend, what to pair it with, how much at one time, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're taking in sucrose, which is in fruits, you're getting fructose and glucose, which is a disaccharide. And it's been shown by many people, of course, Ray Peat, but many other people, that of course when we take in glucose, pancakes and Pop-Tarts and all this stuff, you're going to get an insulinic response. Which of course everyone goes, oh, I have a 98 point something temperature. Of course, if you take in straight glucose, your temperature is going to go up. That doesn't mean you're fixing your system. You're actually, kind of creating the illusion that you are by eating pancakes and hot dogs, but you're not. But the fructose with the glucose has actually been shown to upregulate energy production when we're in a suppressed state from a healing perspective, but also decrease the effects of that glucose spike. So what are we actually doing? In a simple sense, we're regulating blood sugar. We're creating balance. And that's what our whole philosophy is about. So that's why we gravitate towards the fruits and the roots and not overeating the leafy greens and all those cruciferous vegetables.
So let me ask you a question. First of all, you're recommending unsafe starches. How do you feel?
I was just gonna go there.
How do you sleep at night by recommending? I mean, this is terrible. You're breaking every.
I know. We're horrible. We're telling people to eat fruit, and they're gonna kill themselves.
So what?
So let's just get clear here. Number one, we have to understand a baseline of where somebody's coming in. Most people are terrified of any type of carbohydrate at this stage of the game. Yeah. So they're not eating it, and they haven't been eating it for a long time. And as Josh was just explaining, in these situations, there is a hyperinsulinemic state occurring. So there is a very, very high degree of sensitivity that when somebody eats sugar will occur. And that's something we have to be very cognizant of. So we're not saying go out and eat a bunch of fruit and starches to get your blood sugar regulated or to heal your thyroid. We're looking at, again, what is more metabolically stimulating and where do we need to slowly begin to reteach the body how to metabolize these foods. Because if you go from 0 to 100, you're going to get just as much of a negative effect. The body's going to freak out. So the approach has to be very...
It's pretty simple. I always ask clients, is what you're doing working?
Well, that's a tricky question because some people really are hardcore believers in their thing. Even when it's not working, they're just kind of blind.
Well, they're almost in a degree of paralysis and that's why they're like that.
We can't work with everyone we talk to because some of them are like that. And no matter what you say, they're only going to hear what they want to hear. So we'll say, you know what? Buy our ebook. Or I'll say, you know what, the bottom line is whether you work with me or someone else, you need to work with someone. I'm not attached to anyone working with me. I want people that want to work with me, work with me. You know, we can't save the world. But,
paleo,
you know, I always say to people, look, you told me what you're eating. You eat tons of nuts and seeds. You eat tons of leafy greens. You don't eat fruit. You don't eat roots because you're afraid of gaining weight. But you've gained weight. So is what you're doing working? And I'll say, what's your morning temperature and pulse in bed? Because, you know, everyone's into that. Oh, it's 95.6. Well, let me explain to you what that means. So is what you're doing actually working? You know, it's not. And the definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing and expect different results. So you have to make a change to create change, and that's why we go slow with people. But some people don't want to hear it. Some people are so afraid of fruit, it's crazy. They're so afraid of fruit. And no, we don't want to instill fear in people. That's why it's about balance. Some people say, you know what, I'm 65, I've eaten vegetables my whole life, I still want to eat them. Okay, well, if you have them with a fruit or root, so at least you can get a great metabolic balance effect, you know, and get those carbs, of course, along with the protein and fat. But yeah, a lot of people freak out. A lot of people say, everyone tells us to eat nuts and seeds and eat leafy greens and drink fish oil, and you're telling me to do the exact opposite. And I'll say, 100% exactly correct.
Because that other stuff's obviously not working for you.
Yeah. Right. And we tell them, we're telling you to exactly do the exact opposite. You know, it's not that unsaturated fats or any of these foods are bad for you. We actually need them. The body actually produces unsaturated fat, but it's the excess intake of these things that are the problem. So are vegetables bad for you? No, it's the excess intake. Is eating red meat bad for you? No, you know, because of the amino acids in them. It's not bad for you. It's the excess intake of them. But could eating tropical fruit be bad for you? Yeah, if you eat it excessively in relation to protein and fat. Same thing with root vegetables. So it's about balance.
So Josh, let me ask you real quick. Isn't all sugar the same? Is fructose and glucose metabolized differently? And doesn't fructose cause your liver to explode and your triglycerides to break out into high blood pressure and explode onto your skin?
This is what people are taught. The problem is they're being taught about high fructose corn syrup. but a lot of the authors will just say fructose. You know, we're not advocating high fructose corn syrup. We're advocating the ingestion of fructose, which in nature it's almost impossible to find by itself. That's why we don't recommend people using fructose powder. We recommend people eating healthy metabolic food that's digestible, which is tropical ripened fruit, which has fructose and glucose in it. It's not high fructose corn syrup. So most of the literature out there, when they talk about fatty liver and, you know, insulin resistance and all this stuff, they use the word sugar so loosely and they use the word fructose so loosely, but they're really talking about high fructose corn syrup. There's nothing that's the same. That's like saying all fat is fat, all protein's protein. And it's not. You know, you have unsaturated fat, you have fat, you know, saturated fat, you have polyunsaturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and a lot of man-made fats, you know, so, but the media likes to just kind of put those words out there without clarifying.
We're also not telling anybody to go eat fruit by itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about something that everybody wants to talk about. That's coffee. So, what's your stance on coffee, or what can you share about your experience with people using coffee?
Coffee has some metabolic properties to it. It can be very, you know, metabolically stimulating. Is it for everybody? Should everybody be waking up and having coffee with coconut milk or butter and a bunch of sugar? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think it's nutrient dense. I don't think it's giving the body anything that's going to be useful in setting yourself up for success during the day. And I think for some people, depending upon where they're at, it could be more limiting and really exacerbating of some of their issues that they're having.
Yeah.
So again, it just comes down to who we talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I think that a lot of people out there have this misconception that if you know, and this is the most common, that if you study Ray Peat's work, everyone needs pregnenolone, vitamin K2, niacinamide, they have to drink coffee, they have to chug milk, they have to chug orange juice, they need to take all these different, you have to take T3, I mean, I could just keep going and going. And our philosophy is not that. We don't believe that, because we believe we're all individuals and we need to be treated as individuals. And everyone thinks that because Ray talks about coffee, that everyone should be drinking coffee. First off, if you don't drink coffee, you don't need to drink coffee to heal. You're going to heal okay if you don't drink coffee. Same thing with dairy. I don't eat dairy. I didn't grow up drinking or eating dairy. I've tried to titrate it into my life. I've tried different types of dairy. It never works for me. It literally gives me tons of GI issues. So I don't drink liquid dairy. Can I do cheese? Yeah. But am I healing? Am I metabolic? Yeah. So it's all individualized. Now, coffee does have a lot of health benefits because of its metabolic properties. The problem is it comes down to how it's used. A lot of people say, well, it's overstimulating. Well, of course, if you drink coffee on an empty stomach and you're already in a hypoglycemic situation, water can do the exact same thing. You know, and of course, something with caffeine is going to make it even worse. Same thing. Engine's not supported. You put nitrous in the car and you hit the nitrous button. What's going to happen? So from our standpoint, if people use coffee, it can actually be beneficial, but where and when. Our recommendation is, a lot of people say, well, you know, do you have to put gelatin in it and cream and all this stuff? You know what? If you want to, go for it. But it's not a meal. Coffee is not a meal. It should not be used as a meal. And we don't agree that it's a meal. I don't care if you put gelatin. I don't care if you put cream in it or coconut oil or whatever you do to it is not a meal. We always recommend that you should be having coffee after a meal once your blood sugar is regulated, because it's not going to have a negative effect on your body. It's actually going to have a positive metabolic effect on your system. At the same time, drinking it after a meal can actually, you know, according to Ray's work, can actually help reduce or increase iron absorption. So it actually helps to protect the body from iron. But once again, it's individualized. If you're working with someone that's truly, truly anemic, do you want to recommend drinking coffee after a meal? Hell no. This is where we get very individualized with it. Now, yeah, it's got magnesium, it's got B vitamins, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But so does a lot of your fruits. So you don't need it for the minerals and you don't have to drink it. but it can be very stimulating to the metabolism if used correctly. And I think a lot of people think they have to take it because Ray talks about how it has a lot of similarities to thyroid and progesterone. Same thing with dairy, right? But so does eating the right foods and right food frequencies to regulate your blood sugar. That's going to regulate your thyroid and progesterone production as well. So it can be a piece to someone's healing puzzle, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay, cool. So I want to ask you about, you mentioned Ray Peat a couple of times. So in the nutrition and health, in the health and wellness world, people are really fucking mean and they're very aggressive, with, anything that's like, considered controversial. So I've learned a lot from a lot of people. That doesn't mean that I put that person on a pedestal or that I embrace everything from them. Like me and you used to be involved with the Czech Institute. That was an important part of my professional development. Yeah. But I'm no longer, or neither are you. We're no longer involved with them. So a lot of people criticize Ray Peat or criticize people who refer to Ray Peat. What's your take on that aspect, and how do you respond to people that say Ray Peat's a quack or whatever? Or do you not care? I think a lot of all of this slandering and people attacking is sort of an obvious.
Slandering and attacking happens when you don't understand.
Yeah, I was going to say, first of all, I don't care. I think years ago I did care, but working for the Czech Institute taught me many lessons, and one of the lessons was to really be who you are 100% of the time and be honest and true to yourself. And that's what I am. And some people are going to like it and some people are not. Same thing with Jeannie, but most people like Jeannie. She has a different energy.
She's a little cuter than you, too.
Yeah, a little cuter.
Sorry.
That's okay. But, so I don't really care, but they are aggressive. And I find that people are aggressive when they don't understand. It's just like, prime example, we talked about this. I didn't understand CrossFit many, many years ago. I used to slander it. But I said to Jeannie, finally after I tried it, because I was so bored of your just gym exercises and all the BOSU ball crap. I'm not saying it's bad. I was just sick of it. It was boring. I finally started CrossFit. And I absolutely love it. And I said to Jeannie, one of the biggest life lessons I learned was to not talk shit about something until I actually know something about it. And I learned a big lesson. And I think most people slander Ray's work because they don't understand it, because it's so complex, because they don't understand functional physiology. Now, our approach is not 100% Ray Peat. We have studied his work for many years. We've studied many other people's work as well. But the philosophy that we've created, we like to say, is a conglomeration of all that, plus our experience and plus functional physiology, and we're using it to individualize people's health journey. It's not just we're all about Ray Peat. Do we agree with everything he says? Sure. But does some of the things he actually says and recommends, do we disagree with? We do. We 100% do. Like I'll say, you could have a hangnail. You email him. What is he going to say?
That you're hypothyroid.
He's going to say, take T3. You could have a cold. You'll email him, take T3. I personally don't agree with that, only because it's creating, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And a lot of people, I just feel like he doesn't know enough about that person, and you have all these people online medicating themselves with T3, and they're actually doing more damage because they don't have the nutrition, the energy to support that. Remember, you need fuel to burn fuel. If you don't have fuel and you pump the thyroid up to burn fuel, what's going to happen? It's going to create more of a problem because you don't have fuel to burn. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that slander him, but it's what makes the world go around. There's a lot of people that love us and there's a lot of people that slander us. It used to hurt my feelings, but now it's just because they don't know us, and they don't know who we are. They don't know what we're trying to do. We're just trying to help people and guide people and support people. If someone wants to work with us, great. If they don't, we're not attached to it, but we've believed that a lot of people slander Ray because they don't understand his work. They literally don't. And of course, if they do, it's because there's not enough research or da-da-da-da-da. And those people are just so attached to research. Or the other reason is, which I truly believe, is it literally shakes their foundation to a core. And they're actually seeing how weak their foundation is and how little they know about physiology. And they're seeing that their foundation is literally not much. So we believe his work is very powerful, and it's really helped a lot of people, and it's helped us help a lot of people. And that's how we've always been. We're the type of people that want to, study free thinkers and people that just aren't always quoting research. And, the biggest thing is people that are actually sharing their knowledge based on things they've done and work they've done with people. And that's how we created our philosophy. Experience, not just from a book, but working with people. What's worked, what hasn't worked, what's worked with us, what hasn't worked with us, And I think a lot of his work is based on working with people or things he's, heard from people. So, it is a pretty ruthless industry. I agree 100%.
Yeah. And this is like fitness and nutrition. When you get into the, like the spa industry, wellness industry, it's even more ridiculous.
Oh, I bet.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
People have no idea. Like, there's such an illusion with all of this stuff for the general population, the mainstream, people that are like interested in health and wellness. They have no idea what's going on in this industry.
And I always say to Jeannie, like, cause, there's certain things online that I believe that literally brew, negativity. In their health forums, Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the forums are, I agree. For us, nutrition and health is supposed to be a fun journey, and everyone's trying to do the same thing. And when there is negativity, you've lost that connection with health, There's enough clients, enough people to go around. And everyone's trying to help everyone and support everyone. And when you're being dogmatic, you're really not trying to create health.
There's no health in that.
There's no health in that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that going around. Because there's a lot of people that study Ray's work and do it completely different than us. We don't care. It works for them. We're not saying it's wrong. We don't know enough about it. We just do it differently. And of course, our way is better. I'm just kidding. But that's what makes the world go round. I mean, if we all did the same thing, it'd be pretty boring.
Yeah. And just for the record, that was a joke Josh made because I know some clown is going to take that and run with it.
Yeah, of course.
You can't even joke in this industry, dude. It's at that point. Anyway, so real quick, last question. I want to talk about feedback. You mentioned body temperatures and pulse a few times. So what is feedback? Obviously these are things that you use. If you could give a general overview of what is feedback and, these particular things that you use, why do you use those things?
Because the body does not lie. So it gives us an opportunity to really kind of watch hormonal patterns, watch how somebody's regulating their blood sugar throughout the day. It's not the only thing that we're using. That in correlation with how somebody's feeling, what they're noticing in their body, what's going on for them. There's a lot of other variables that we're taking into account, but for overall, it allows us to begin to understand how somebody's responding to changes that are being made. Are they beginning to regulate throughout the day? Are we still seeing a lot of fluctuations in their blood sugar? That's basically what it's telling us.
We use a food log, and we teach people how to check in with themselves. And their food log, checking in with themselves throughout the day, that's all feedback. That's creating awareness. That's getting them closer to self, which is health, right? Another feedback mechanism we use, there's many, is body temperature and pulse, because you take your pulse, it's free. You buy a thermometer, it costs wherever you live, I don't know, $3, $4, $5, right? It's not $100, $200, $300, or $400, which all these labs cost. And it's a feedback mechanism that you can use. We actually have our clients do it 2 to 3 times a week. But it's something you can use to get feedback, because people go, oh, well, I did a lab and I'm hypothyroid. okay, well, you did a lab, got your blood taken 1 minute of one day out of 365 days. Broda Barnes talks about it. And Dr. Weatherby and Dr. John Lee and Chris Kresser, and it's literally not valid. Things change on a minute to minute, hour, weekly basis. Body temperature and pulse, you can use that to see that, right? And it can lead you maybe towards wanting to talk to your doctor about doing a lab, but it's going to give you a shot of your baseline laying in bed in the morning. Bottom line, I'll say to people, is what you're doing working? That's why we did the YouTube called Are You Healthy? I don't care if you eat organic. I don't care if you're vegan. I don't care what you think you're doing. If it's the best thing in the world, take your temp and pulse when you're laying in bed in the morning. The body doesn't lie. Your cells don't lie. They are who you are. They're the conductors of all the systems, which is the orchestra. It's going to tell you if how you're living, how you're exercising, and how you're eating is actually working for your metabolism. And if your temperature is below 97.8 in the morning and your pulse is super low, like 40, 50, then what you're doing is not working. Same thing, we have people take it 20 minutes after breakfast, 20 minutes after lunch. This is kind of the simple way of doing it, seated, because it's going to show us, are you regulating your blood sugar throughout the day based on how you're eating, the foods you're eating, the ratios, the frequencies, but also how you're living your life. Did you wake up at 96 degrees, but as you ate, you came up to 97? That's a good increase over a short amount of time. Now we know we're moving in the right direction, so it's a great feedback mechanism to see we're actually regulating blood sugar. We're converting thyroid hormone. The cells are using thyroid hormone to make ATP, water, and CO2, which is energy. And now you're a metabolic machine. So now we're actually filling up the reserves. So the demands coming in are slowly going to start meeting the demands you're actually expending. And we're pushing yourself in the right direction. So you're looking at cell energy production and blood sugar regulation, which is basically what Broda Barnes taught. Body temperature and pulse is what Broda Barnes actually, I don't ever know what to use, invented, or he,
tested, discovered.
Began,
over a lot of research and people he was working with began to see the patterns.
But this is why I say, based on his work, most people don't have hypothyroidism. That's why we did a YouTube on it. Because they say, I have hypothyroidism because my TSH is 10. No. Most people that have true hypothyroidism, Broda Barnes talks about this. Your temperature and pulse in the morning, whatever it may be, let's say it's 96 degrees and 60 pulse. And no matter how much food you eat, how long they've been working with us, what their food frequency is, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months later, they still wake up at a 96 degrees, and same thing, their temperature and pulse do not change by much throughout the day. It's 96.1, 96.2, 95.8, whatever. It literally does not change no matter what. You could pump sugar in their system. It will not change. That's a true hypothyroid person. But I'm not saying just over one day. You got to see it over a period of time. People that have blood sugar handling issues or fuel issues and not true thyroid issues wake up with a low temperature and pulse, but as soon as they start eating food and they work on their food frequency, what happens? You start to see their temperature and pulse come up. It might not be normal, but it starts to come up. What does that tell us? They just don't have fuel. So they can't burn fuel. So of course you're going to see a quote unquote thyroid issue. So they don't have thyroid issues. They actually have, I don't want to say adrenal issues. They have fuel issues. They're not getting enough fuel to fuel the system, so they have fuel to burn. So it's really a blood sugar handling issue, not a thyroid issue.
Do you have a Facebook group, right?
We have our Facebook page is East West Healing. If you actually go to our website, which is eastwesthealing.com, you can find, if you want to learn more about our coaching or actually get a free consult, you can go to the coaching tab. If you want to learn more about our e-courses, of course, there's an e-course tab, ebooks tab.
Go to the website to learn more. If you want to find us on Facebook, scroll to the bottom.
Facebook, Instagram, all that social media vortex. Just scroll to the bottom of our website and you can find YouTube, Blog Talk, all that just crazy ass.
Instagram, Snapchat, Vine.
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't have a business, trust me, it would not be on social media.
I understand.
Yes, the internet is interesting. Social media in particular is like a very interesting place. There's a small number of informative and pretty awesome people. But then there's just a whole bunch of just complete nonsense.
Yeah.
Not even just our industry, but outside our industry. But anyways, I mean, the best that we can do is, try to, offer some good, value and, in some whatever way we can to counterbalance all the nonsense, the wild, outrageous nutrition, health stuff out there. All right, cool. So Josh and Jeannie, so thank you so much for coming on our show. We really appreciate it. If y'all want to find out more, just like they just said, just go to eastwesthealing.com. What do y'all have coming up? What do you have coming up over the next 6 months or so? Any new projects?
We have some new projects that we're kind of thinking about getting started here. We're still working on refining some of the things we've got going on because we just, again, rebranded ourselves. So we're kind of wrapping that up. And once we do that, we've got some good ideas as far as other books that we want to write and other programs that we want to create. So we'll keep you posted.
Want to create a couple more programs.
We're not talking about them yet.
Yeah. Kind of like Fight Fatigue with Food, but we want to rebrand Metabolic Blueprint and Fight Fatigue with Food and relaunch them and spice them up a little bit. Kind of in the past year, I've been going through phases with rebranding our business. And, our main goal, like Jeannie said, is to really help people connect the dots, but simplify things so people can really understand it. The technical stuff is great. Estrogen this, parathyroid hormone that, PTA, what. No one understands that. We really want to simplify it so they're getting the simplicity of it even though the science is behind it, So we want to refine things a little bit.
Oh, wow. I just looked on your site. It looks fantastic.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't seen it. The last time I looked at your site, it was your, the older one a few months back. But yeah, this looks great. Nice work. And look at this picture of these guys.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
What a nice picture.
Oh, now I actually know what you all look like while we're sitting here talking.
So Josh and Jeannie, Rubin, thank you guys so much for coming on our show and sharing what y'all do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, enjoy your San Diego weather and your fantastic year-long weather. And, hopefully I'll catch up and see you guys at some point soon.
Sure.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, cool. Bye-bye.